Hello and welcome to Leave It to a Smile podcast by Monga Sungolo. So just go say who you are, what you do, whatnot.
All right, well, I can go first. My name is Luke. I use he, him pronouns. I am a college student at the moment, first year at the University of Oregon. Typically doing schoolwork and I go on runs and that kind of stuff. It's been a low key year in terms of, I guess, past academic year. But that's what I'm up to. That's a little bit about myself.
I feel that. It's been low key for a lot of people.
My name is Felix, and so I'm a junior at Georgetown. And so I've been going through this phase where I've been trying to not label myself because I feel like labels are limiting. But things that I enjoy do is I love playing soccer, biking, working out, blogging, and storytelling, the whole idea of stories and the meanings behind it and listening to stories.
In this world we live in, could you truly think we can achieve full well-being?
Yeah, I can talk about first. Yeah, 100% because there's 5 core components, and so I think the way they describe it, and we can maybe get into more details later, but one of the things it says it's like positive emotion, engagement, flow, meaning, and then purpose. And I feel like there's a whole bunch of different elements that make someone live well and live, happy. Because happy, I feel like a lot of the time we use happy, it's like we almost kind of use it like kind of towards like almost the equivalent of well-being, but I think there's different components to make up a good, like a well life.
What about you, Luke? Do you truly think we can be fully at a good stage of well-being?
Well, I think one thing is just how we define well-being, because I think for some people, happiness and well-being could be equivalent. Yeah. Like they could hold the same value, same definition. And I also think that it's kind of difficult to measure what is well-being. Like we can't take a quantitative look at something. We can't count how much well-being you have, right? So I feel like in that case, it's kind of tough to decipher what is considered full well-being, right? And what is not. So I don't know if I can wholly answer that and say that we can, but I'm also not going to say we can't, because it just, I think there's a whole lot of moving parts and things you have to kind of understand or define in the first place.
That's definitely a good answer.
Okay, I just wanted to correct. I messed up. So my bad. So it's called PERMA for short. You can look it up. PERMA, positive. It's positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. Those are the 5 things. Mm-hmm. And so, but the thing is, I think one of the interesting things is the most important things out of all of them. They've done TEDx talks about it, but living a happy life, a well-being life, is relationships is the biggest, is the most important, and the depth of the relationships.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to accept that, just because we're social beings. I depend on others, and I would hope that others depend on me, just for well-being, if we're talking about it. So I can definitely understand that.
What were the 5 components again? Could you say that again?
Positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment.
Okay, all right. Okay, so since we're on this topic of well-being, happiness, or however you want to define it towards your perspective, I think we also got to talk about, if we talking about Gen Z, what are those factors and what are those barriers that are plaguing our generation or stopping us from achieving that?
I think you made a perfect point, bro. I really like the point of sex being a barrier to happiness. That's a funny topic. I'm sorry, but I feel like it goes into this question of how we've become so attached to our physical bodies, and um when we're more than that, and that we're so caught up in pursuing things because they feel good in the moment, um and we never think about actual things that actually we that fill our soul. So when people, and I think one of the biggest things, I feel like my age, I'm 20 right now, so Gen Z, um we've lied. I personally, this is my opinion, what people can say whatever, but I personally feel that we've lied to ourselves, and we've gone to the point where it's all about self-indulgence. Do whatever makes you happy, do whatever. But I feel like that's the wrong message to tell people. Do what makes you happy. If I'm like, if let me give it, like, if a guy is happy when he gets on Tinder and uses women and has a lot of sex, if that makes him happy, should a guy continuously do that week in, week out? No. Like no. And I know that's an extreme, but my point is, I feel like self-indulgence has plagued and contorted our view of happiness. Physical pleasures, sex, drugs, alcohol, we abuse it to the point where it's not even, those things are just used to like escape reality. We drink alcohol, we do all these drugs, we have sex because we're afraid of facing what was going on in the real world. And
What is presented. And I think, Fela,
yeah.
you did kind of touch on that, because I think there's a whole world to be discovered just in I don't know, in intimacy in itself, in sex. But like, yeah, how we've been shown, how we've been told to do
Yeah.
it is where I feel like lies a barrier.
See,
You're you're
yeah.
definitely right, Luke. And I know you want to touch on it, Felly, but yeah, I should have actually explained it a little bit more. But just like the way media consumption has portrayed sex, just in our
Yeah.
culture, just in the culture that we live in today, and we're not talking about like other words, but we're talking about like just in American culture, just the way it's been presented has just been a false narrative towards people, because there is something very powerful about having those acts of intimacy, but it loses meaning when we're doing it with people who we truly don't care about, who we truly don't love. And you can kind of touch
Yeah,
on it,
yeah,
Philly.
no, you're making an excellent point, and I feel like that's the problem. It's like, and I should have been specific. It's like, I feel like the problem with, um and that's what I was saying, like the problem with a lot of these activities, the alcohol, the sex, the drugs, is that usually it's used as an escape, that process of being a better me.
Right. Um, let me touch a little bit on that body image part. Let's touch a little bit on that surgery part. Obviously, not only women are having surgery, but men are having it too. Just like men are having it too, and so whether that's to have more defined body parts, bigger body parts, what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on that?
Well, first thing is, I'm not gonna blame the person for getting some sort of surgery. I'm gonna blame the directors in movies. I'm gonna blame the editors, the photographers in magazines. I'm gonna blame the people that keep upholding the same perspective, or excuse me, the same representations of the ideal body, because that's a big factor for why people are doing that. Now, I don't personally see myself ever getting some sort of major body modification, but I can't I can't hate somebody for doing that, because I can understand, perhaps I could understand why, or where that's, why they may want to do that. And I think if uh, it could bring people some confidence, but I would also think that some of that confidence, some of that happiness maybe some false happiness, like it I'll leave it at that.
Keep going. No, you said it
I'm
can
gonna
reach
disagree with
false
Luke.
happiness.
I'm gonna disagree with
Look,
Luke.
look,
I
Luke,
completely disagree with that.
wait.
Okay.
You disagree with Luke.
100%, 100,000%
Let's tell people.
disagree with Luke.
All right.
This is the reason why. This is the reason why I feel like the problem is we always say, who do we blame, right?
Mm.
So when someone, let's take an example. Someone goes to jail for, let's say, hurting someone, right? Physical assault. We can a guy goes to jail for hurting someone, being abusive, right? And then we can be like, yes, society's at fault for the fact that a lot of society does is push this image that males have to be aggressive, have to, be this certain way. But also at the same time, that guy did the action. So I do blame people. I blame society for having people want to change themselves, whether it's through surgery, changing their butts, taking steroids. I also blame those people to buy into it, because we have to have some level of accountability here. We can't just continuously, if we're going to say, I feel like we have to be careful, because if we're going to say, we're going to continuously blame society, there has to be some accountability, because then we can just say, oh, it's society's fault. And yes, it's huge, their fault, but we're the ones that listen to it.
Thank you for listening to Leave It to a Smile podcast by Moga Sungolo.